You're live.
Okay, good evening everyone. First, for tonight, can I just check, can everybody hear me? And if so, I can turn this microphone off. Thank you for that. So I think we're okay, I'll leave this off. Just bear with me. Okay, welcome to the annual town meeting for Sandwich. Tonight's Wednesday, the 29th of April. There's a couple of procedural things we need to go through first, and then we're going to take some presentations from some individuals who have been invited this evening, and then at the end we can take questions and answers for probably about half an hour towards the end. So, can I first of all give thanks out to our invited representatives. We have here this evening our local MP, Sir Roger Gale. We also have our local police officer, PC Lauren Jackson. We have Peter Gill, who's the KCC Community Warden for Eastry Rural. We have Father Sebastian Hamilton, who's rector for St Clement's, but also the chaplain for the Town Council. We have Ben Garrett, who is the Chief Officer for Age Concern. Richard Ralph, who's Chair of Town Team and the Tourism Forum. Councillor Mark Morehouse, who also, as well as being a Sandwich Town Council, is also Dover District Councillor. Darren Solly from DDC, Dover District Council, Parks and Open Spaces. And then we have two speakers who have received grants for their organisation. We've got Tony Kerwin from Sandwich Town Cricket Club and Graham Connor from Sandwich Lawn Tennis Club. Thank you. So a couple of procedural things. Firstly, Town Clerk, do we have any apologies for absences?
Yeah, we have Councillor Peter Evans as a fire equipment, Heather Mills from EDC, fire equipment, EDC fire equipment, David Harris from EDC, fire equipment, Councillor Simon from EDC, fire equipment. Fortunately, we have Councillor Morehouse. We also have fire equipment councillors Cognizant, Fortescue and Gray, and also P and P Fire.
Thank you very much. So the next thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the meeting that happened last year. I'm asking any councillors who are here to consider any matters arising from those minutes, not covered elsewhere in the agenda. And if there aren't any, would a councillor like to propose those minutes? Somebody have to second? Councillor Back, would you like to vote, councillors? Fantastic, thank you very much. Okay, the first main agenda item is the Mayor's report. As I'm the Mayor, it's my report. Most of you should have a copy of it in front of you. What I will promise is I'm not going to read through it verbatim, so I'm just going to give a summary of the report that you've got in front of you. So, first I'd like to say it's my privilege to have served as your Mayor for the past year. Sandwich is a remarkable town, rich in history, strong in community, and residents who care deeply about where they live. It's been an honour to play a small part in supporting that over the past 12 months. Before I run through some of the highlights of what your Town Council has been doing for the past year, it might be helpful just to briefly explain the role your Town Council plays. The Council is made up of 16 elected councillors who volunteer their time to serve the town. They represent residents, raise local issues, and support initiatives that help shape Sandwich's future, while also acting as your voice on matters such as planning, policing, and highways. The councillors are supported by a dedicated team of staff, led by our Town Clerk, Sophie, to ensure the Council's services and responsibilities are delivered effectively. The Town Council also manages a number of assets and services, used by both residents and visitors, whilst also organising civic events and acting as trustee for both the Sandwich Tollbridge Fund and the Georgina Maddox Fund. Over the past year, this is quite a surprising stat when I totaled it up, we have held 83 meetings within the Town Council. It does sound like a lot of meetings, and it certainly feels like that sometimes, but it does demonstrate the time, effort and commitment councillors give to supporting their town. Of course, our work as councillors would not be possible without our staff, and during the year we did experience a number of staff changes, but I'm pleased to say that despite this, the council has continued to operate effectively. One of our most important roles is supporting projects that makes a real difference locally. Last year we contributed £13,300 towards the refurbishment of the Bulwarks Play Park, which reopened last May, and the improvements made are proving very popular with families within the town and visitors. We also supported the reinstatement of the wooden bridge linking Night Rider Street and St George's Lees with a £2,000 contribution, and that was ex gratia, but we recognise the importance of this well-used route for residents. We've also seen the return of the Community Caretaker Scheme, with 28 volunteers attending the first session at the end of February. The next session, I believe, is on the 9th of May. Is that correct, Councillor Wiles?
Yes.
Saturday, 9th of May. So this is a great example of spirit in action, the community spirit in action, people giving their time, working together and taking pride in their town. If anyone here enjoys fresh air, gentle exercise, not too close to the water, of course, and helping keep Sandwich looking its best, please come along. Anyone who turns up is welcome. Another important initiative is the Georgina Maddox Fund. This was created to support community groups and good causes in Sandwich. Although registering the fund as a charity has taken longer than expected, the council has already begun awarding grants. In the first round alone, more than £38,000 was distributed to 12 local organisations, and the second round of grant giving is almost complete, with grant applications totaling nearly 40,000 having been approved. Residents may also have noticed the improvements to the Cattle Market public toilets, which have recently been refurbished by Dover District Council, but this was following advocacy from the Town Council to get this done. Now, whilst public toilets might not be particularly glamorous, they are certainly appreciated when they are clean, open and working properly, and it's the Town Council's responsibility for making sure this is the case. Improving road safety remains a priority. Through our Highway Improvement Plan, we continue to work with Kent Highways on measures to address concerns raised by residents, including school warning signs, road markings, and temporary 12-mile-per-hour limits outside Sandwich Junior School and along Sandown Road. We are planning to consult residents later in this year to refresh the plan. One disappointment I want to flag up in the past year is the unsuccessful attempt to relaunch a speed watch scheme. We did try as a council, while it's not our direct responsibility, it hasn't operated for a number of years. We did try a number of methods to seek volunteers, but unfortunately we had a very low response and insufficient to actually relaunch the scheme. Another key focus for the past year has been the care and management of the council's buildings and assets. After many years of limited investment, we are now making a more planned approach to maintenance to protect these for the future, with works underway at sites including the Guildhall itself and Fishergate. Monks Wall Nature Reserve continues to develop as a valuable wildlife habitat, community space and visitor destination. This year has seen repairs to the sluice gate, the planting of around 400 trees by volunteers, and new visitor signage, alongside increasing signs of beaver activity. Finally, I would like to reflect briefly on my year as your mayor. Over the past 12 months, I've undertaken more than 80 official engagements, alongside many informal visits and community events across the town and beyond. What I valued most about these occasions was the opportunity to meet so many members of our community, residents, volunteers, local organisations and businesses, all of whom contribute so much to Sandwich. For me, there have been many memorable moments, including meeting His Majesty the King at Walmer Castle, leading the Remembrance Sunday service at the War Memorial, and hosting our local heroes thank you evening. Looking ahead, the next 12 months also may bring some changes. Currently, there's a community governance review underway, which could result in the number of councillors the Sandwich Town Council reducing, although the initial findings that were discussed only 2 days ago by Dover District Council suggested we might well stay the same in terms of the number of councillors. But there is a wider local government reorganisation underway, which will reshape the district councils and Kent County Council, and they will be formed into much smaller unitary councils. We are also entering the final year of this council administration, so there will be town council elections scheduled for May 2027. But whatever changes lie ahead, I'm confident that your councillors will continue to serve with dedication and shared commitment to the town. And I'd like to thank you all for your support, and thank you for being here this evening. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to two councillors who are going to give particular updates on the areas that they have responsibility for. So could I first of all introduce the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Colin Wiles, who will be discussing our business plan. Councillor Wiles.
Can you all hear me? Thank you. I won't use the microphone. In your packs, there is a short summary of the business plan. It's only one page. I like to be brief, so I'm only going to talk for a couple of minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes, and then open it up for questions, because my slot is 5 minutes. So the business plan is on the website if you want to read the whole thing. It was adopted last year by the Town Council, and it lasts until May next year. So it's a 2-year plan, and really the purpose of it was to try to focus our activity on the key priorities for the council, because this is a complex council. It's much more complex than most parishes and town councils, and we did find often that we were being bombarded with requests for different things. So the business plan is really to try to focus on the key areas, and it does have 9 key priorities within that plan, if you want to read it. Some of those are internal, so it's about making sure our internal administration is effective, that we manage our assets and our staff and our buildings and so on. But others are external, so it talks about partnership working, because we cannot, this parish council only has limited responsibilities. So all the things that out there that people are concerned about, most of them are to do with DDC, Dover District Council, or Kent County Council, roads, highways, street lights and all that kind of thing. But with partnership working, we can try and have an effective relationship with those bodies and make our voice heard in Whitfield and in Maidstone, and with other bodies such as the English Heritage or the Waterways. What's it called? The Waterways.
Environment agency.
Exactly. So the business plan sets out a context for the town. This town has been described as the most complete medieval town in England. It does have an older population, a more qualified population, fewer people on benefits than Dover as a whole. And one of the key objectives for the town council is to be a prudent local authority. So we have limited our council tax increases to 5% for the last 2 or 3 years. The council tax precept is higher in Sandwich, that is true, but then we are, as I said before, we're a much more complex local authority. We have a lot of ceremonial duties to perform. We have this building to manage, which is a very expensive building to manage, and we also have a lot of assets to manage, which I'll talk about shortly. So looking at the priorities, I'll just highlight a couple of things there. Setting up Georgina Maddox charity. Georgina died over 4 years ago, I think, and we're in the process of setting up that charity. She left us effectively £3 million, which is an amazing legacy for the town, a bequest for the town. Just to report on one of the aspects of that, piano, which you've seen as you come in downstairs, is a Bechstein piano, and on Monday the council agreed that we would carry out a full restoration of that piano and put it in the gallery next door so it can be used for receptions, weddings and so on. And it's really the only artefact that we still have that represents her passion for music and her personality. The other thing within the business plan is making sure there's a clear separation between Sandwich Town Council, the Tollbridge Fund and the Georgina Maddox Fund. In the past, the Tollbridge Fund has tended to become very integrated with the Town Council, but it should be seen as an independent charity. The Town Council is the trustee, the 16 councillors is the trustee of that charity and will be the trustee of the Georgina Maddox Fund. And the other thing I just wanted to focus on is about assets. Now, I don't know how many people know this, but the Town Council, in its own right, and as trustee of the Tollbridge Fund, does own a huge number of assets, which are listed in the business plan. And this includes this building, which we are negotiating with Dover District Council about taking on the freehold of, because at the moment it's leased to us and the STC is the trustee of the Tollbridge Fund jointly and severally, which does cause some problems. But we also own buildings like the drill hall on the quay, the public toilets are leased to us on the quay, the cattle market, toilets are on a short-term lease, Cloakman's Hill Chapel in the cemetery we own, the allotment sites, Black Lane and Sandown Road, Donkey Paddock, Cowley's Meadow, Monkswell Nature Reserve, Fishergate is owned by the council. It's the only scheduled monument in the town, other than the Rope Walk, which is not a building, obviously. So that's an amazingly complex building to manage and to update and improve. And then, as trustee of the Tollbridge Fund, we also own the cinema, and the back of the car park here, the fitness connection on the high street, and the White Mill is owned by, the Heritage Centre is owned by the Tollbridge Fund. So it's a very complex portfolio. When you think of the Tollbridge Fund, it's not just the shares, we also own this property portfolio as well. And we have to make sure those assets are well managed and that we're getting a good return from them, which hasn't always been the case. So about 18 months ago, we appointed a property manager to bring all those properties into order, to make sure all the legal documentation was in place. And that's something that Julian, property manager, has been doing since then. And in July, we hope to bring forward an asset management strategy so that we can have a clear focus on how we manage those assets, whether we sell some of them. Clearly, we need to consult with the residents of the town about the value of those assets to them and whether they should be kept or sold or used in some other way. So that's just a quick run through of the business plan. I'm happy to take any questions on any of those points. Go on. No?
Thank you, Colin.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So the second councillor I've invited to speak is Councillor Peter Green. He's the Chair of Finance and General Purposes Committee for his sins. He's also responsible for the Georgina Maddox Charity Committee, so quite an extensive and demanding range of responsibilities. So Peter's going to talk about our financial year.
Thank you, Emmett. And thank you, everybody, for being here. In giving you an update on the finances, I think it's important to cover all of the monies that the council control. So that includes the Toll Bridge Fund, which has been mentioned by both Emmett and Colin previously. And the finances of the charity, which is the Toll Bridge Fund, and the council are intertwined in two major aspects. Number one, as Colin said, they jointly own this building and the forecourt. And secondly, there's been a recent change where all of the staff that we have are employed by the town council, yet they do work for the Toll Bridge companies, if you want to, or the Toll Bridge elements. So I'm grateful to Councillor Black, who chairs the Finance Committee for the Toll Bridge, and to the Finance Officer for their help in preparing the financial summary for you. Now, you will find in your pack a spreadsheet, and it's a detailed document. I just want to highlight out a couple of things on it, so it's probably best if you just have it to hand so that you can see. Okay, so this is a financial overview that brings together all of the entities. So in the first column, you will see the income and the expenditure as kind of general headings. And then in the next two columns, you will see for Sandwich Town Council, the budget for 2025-26 and the planned budget for 26-27. And then in the next three sets of columns, which all fall under the auspices of Sandwich Toll Bridge Fund, we have the toll bridge itself, the Guildhall itself, and the museum. So the way it works here is that we have each of those entities has its own bank account. So we've got a bank account for the council, a bank account for the toll bridge, a bank account for the Guildhall, and a bank account for the museum. And then the end two columns total all of that up. So if we look down the column underneath the town council, you'll see the precept is coming in at 348,000 for this year. It was 330,000 last year, and we've talked about the increase there. And you'll see the other income is nearly 65,000, and that is income that's coming in from the rent of the drill hall, from the markets, from the allotments and so forth. So that all totals 412,000. But then below that, you will see a figure for 229,000 for this present year, and that is the recharge of the staff who are working on the toll bridge, the Guildhall and the museum. You'll also see some transfers, and this is basically budget transfers, and this is where we're rearranging the money and spreading it around between these different entities to be able for them to operate. So you'll see in total, then if we look across the total external income, you will see that for the toll bridge, that gets a total of 170,000, 60 of which is dividends from the investment portfolio, and 65 is a planned drawdown or sale of shares that investment portfolio has. And the 45,000 is from the rents of the car park at the back and so forth. And then moving over to the Guildhall, you'll see that the income plan for the Guildhall for this year is 74,000. Now that is quite a stretch target because that's the money from renting out this building for other activities, for the Art Society, for the markets and so forth that are held within the building. And then for the museum, you'll see we've got income of about £9,000, which is just coming in as donations and sales of merchandise and so forth, and the 7,880 grant which has come through. So if you look right across, then in total, the total income coming into Sandwich Town Council is £675,000. If we were a business, that's our total turnover. And you need to keep that in perspective with Dover District Council, which is turning over 22 million, and Kent County Council, which is turning over 1.53 billion. So we've got a very small amount of money, on the grand scale of things, even though we're a council, Dover District is a council, and Kent County Council is a council. So it's all classified as councils by many people, but we are the first and smallest element of that. So where does all of this money go? There's 675,000. Well, something like 388,000 of it goes to pay for the staff that we have. So that 388,000, just note, is 40,000 more than the precept that we get in. It's a huge amount of money and it's a huge demand. We then, if you have a look as well, the other kind of big expenditures then are for the repair and maintenance of our buildings, where we're spending £104,000. And then other elements like utilities and insurance, which we really don't have any control over. Kind of all of those amount up to another £214,000. We've made a provision of £15,000 for the reorganisation that's planned, that the Mayor was talking about. So in total, over £600,000 of our income is already predetermined where it's going to go, which gives us very little flexibility when we get calls on for expenditure outside. Now, importantly, I mentioned some of these transfers because the Sandwich Town Council transfers £137,000 in budget towards the Guildhall. The Tollbridge Fund transfers 65,000 for the Guildhall and 50,000 for the museum. So these are just internal transfers, and in many respects, then the recharge back for the staff that are operating on the Tollbridge entities is 230,000. So when you add up these internal transfers, we're transferring £470,000 of the income that we get in. We're shuffling it about. It's not really a very efficient or effective way to be working, and we need to improve it. So that's kind of an overview of the finances. Looking back on the financial year, that's just ended at the end of March. The accounts preparation is starting to be made, and they will be available in due course in line with the statutory periods and so forth. There is nothing that's happened that we're aware of that will have a major impairment on the budget overall. In terms of investments, we've talked about the Tollbridge Fund, and excluding properties that the Tollbridge Fund owns, the share investment portfolio has been worth about £2 million, for the last 11 years or so. So it's hovered at about £2 million. But in that time, inflation is over 55%. So the real value of the toll bridge fund is depleting. And this is because assets have been sold to pay for the central heating refurb here. It's been used to fund elements of work that have been needed and to keep things going and to pay for employment. The Maddox investment portfolio is worth about 3.2 million, and that's after something like £80,000 in grants has been given. And when Georgina passed away, the expectation was that we would get about 2.6 million. So in the 5 years that it's coming up now in August, the investments have grown £680,000. This council has got some loans. We took out a loan for the forecourt of £300,000, and there's only a couple of £1,000 has been paid off the principal sum. I must say the markets are going really well. The income from the markets is up, and it's a real stretch target to improve it. So well done to everybody who's been involved in bringing the markets through. The drill hall, there was a £350,000 loan taken out to cover the purchase of the drill hall. That's rented out, as you know, as a pizza place. The income from that barely covers the loan. There's very slender margin to pay for the insurance. And we will have a problem if that building needs repairs or if it becomes vacant. It's going to be a real problem for the council. So this challenges that the council face going forward are kind of the lack of a sinking fund or a reserve fund to pay for major maintenance projects across the portfolio of properties that's owned. That's a real problem. Also, the depreciation of the toll bridge fund. I would just kind of go back to the Guildhall itself, because Councillor Wiles did make the point that the Guildhall is expensive. It costs £267,000 this coming year to operate this building, and we will get about 70,000 in income for the building. So this building is costing us a couple of £100,000 a year, and people really need to understand that, because it really is, it's the heart of Sandwich, it's recognisably Sandwich. So that is a problem, as I say, with any drawdown. We've got a bit of a problem, a short-term problem with NatWest Bank because of change of officers and so forth. We're finding them very difficult to open accounts and get interest-bearing accounts, but we hope to overcome that in the not-too-distant future. So that concludes my review. I'm happy to take questions now or during the general question and answer session. Sorry, Craig.
This is a very good explanation of income expenditure. Have you got a balance sheet?
We don't do a balance sheet, per se.
You don't?
As a council, I don't believe we do a balance sheet.
Okay.
But I can look into it and get back to you on it. I'll double check with the RFO, but I haven't seen a balance sheet. We do have some funds that are ring-fenced, that we will bring forward and so forth, but we don't necessarily publish, a balance sheet as a limited company would.
Right. But you must be able to balance the books. So that if we've got second year of deficits, is there any money there to cover those?
We've got
2 years of deficits.
We've got 2 years of deficit, yes. So we're going to have to try and find savings as we move forward, and we have got some monies that we're bringing forward from previous years. One of the things, because we do hold quite a bit of cash, we are in discussions about, we budgeted another £35,300 of drawdown from the toll bridge investments. We haven't made that drawdown because the stock market has gone down, it's a bad time, and at the same time, the council is flush with money. So we should really have better control over managing our monies. But There is generally, the amount of the deficit is relatively small, 7,000 or something like that. But, hopefully things don't necessarily materialise. For instance, we have to make a provision of £5,000 for elections in case councillors decide to stand down and there needs to be an election. So there is money there which we need to provide for, but may not be spent, and hopefully it won't be spent. Thank you. Any other questions, Carol?
As part of your business plan moving forward, do you intend reviewing the investment portfolio in terms of the companies that you're currently using versus other people that might give you something better in the way of income?
Well, we did last year undertake a review with the investment manager for the Tollbridge Fund, and all of the monies were moved out of individual shares and specified shares into a high-performing charitable trust. And I know Councillor Black has done a lot of work on this, and we are happy at the moment, but it's something that we're always reviewing. Okay.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. So we now move on to some guest speakers. And could I first of all invite Sir Roger Gale to maybe say a few words if he's happy to? I hope he's been asked that this might happen. Thank you, Sir Roger.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a script, and I haven't issued one to you, but I was asked if I'd say a few words about what I've been doing with Sandwich since my election in 2024. It is 21 months since I became the Member of Parliament for Sandwich, having been the Member of Parliament for North Thanet for 40 years. Since the election, I first of all had to get to know Patch and the personalities, and I think I've made a fair inroad into that. I've had a lot of help from some people. I've established a very good working relationship with Councillor Paul Carter as the town mayor at Sandwich when I was first elected, and with Emmett Shooper since. I've also established a very good working relationship with the manager of the Jubilee Centre, which I believe is an organisation that has a lot of unrealised potential still. I've also established a working relationship, same building but different project, with the boxing club, which I regard as a very important contributor to the social life of the town for young people. It keeps a lot of kids off the streets. I've had a lot of support and help and kindness from Father Sebastian and St Clements, which again I've got a working relationship with, and that's been a little short of a joy. Sandwich High School, many of you will know, has had its problems, and we're still going through some choppy waters. But again, I've got a working relationship with the now head teacher, Simon Sharples, and his chairman of government, Martin. In fact, I've got a meeting with them tomorrow afternoon to see how we take the next step forward. But in the last 18 months, the performance, not the performance, but the approval, parental approval, Sandwich High School, has gone from 32% to an astonishing over 90%, which I think says a great deal for the teams now in charge there. Their performance is improving radically. It's a long way to go yet, but it is improving radically. And I whisper it softly, but in some areas I gather they're outperforming Roger Manners. Haven't yet got an entirely working relationship, Anthony, with the cricket club, but I'm looking forward to that in this coming season. We have yet to resolve the issue of foot passengers over the foot traffic over the bridge. We've looked at this, I say we, because a number of people have had a crack at it, not just me, but we've looked at this from every possible angle, including the construction of a completely new bridge, which frankly is a lovely dream, but a pipe dream. And the only viable solution at present is a three-way traffic light system that allows for pedestrian traffic to have total access to the bridge for a period of time to allow pedestrians to go backwards and forwards with prams and pushchairs and wheelchairs and all the rest of it. The problem with that, of course, is that if we do it all day, then at rush hour times, it'll create mayhem with the traffic in Strand Street and on the other side of the river. It's not a straightforward solution. Unfortunately, to date, County, which is the highways department, is responsible for most of it, has taken a not fall off here attitude towards it and sharply take a breath and no, we can't do that, it won't work. But somehow we've got to try and make it work. I'm not yet sure how. Again, I've had a lot of fun with Rickborough Fort, which is a huge asset that I, frankly, having lived in the area for almost 40 years, I've never visited until I became a member of Parliament, I'm ashamed to say. I'm now, as a result of arm twisting, a member of English Heritage, and I enjoy going there a very great deal. I'm also very fortunate to have the use of the premises of Age UK, so old-fashioned, still think of it as Age Concern, but of Age UK, and Ben has been immensely helpful to me to allow me to hold my surgeries there. We hold a reasonably regular service. There's not a huge demand, but we hold a reasonably regular service surgery in Sandwich. And Ben and I have been meeting very regularly on a number of things with other branches of Age UK to see how we can improve still further, because in my view, the service offered by Age UK, the people of Sandwich, is magnificent. But there's always more that can be done, and we're exploring that. And outside all of that, it's been a pleasure to have enjoyed some of the fun games in Sandwich, which it's a beautiful town and I love it. I attend the War Memorial on a biannual basis. The reason for that is because historically, when I was the Member of Parliament for Herne Bay and Margate, I attended the War Memorial at Margate 1 year and Herne Bay the next, and Boxton Coxstow for 40 years. I've now transferred that process to Sandwich and Herne Bay. So I shall be at the War Memorial on Remembrance Sunday this year, because it's Herne Bay's turn last. And when invited, I try and participate in the civic activities of the town as much as time and energy permits. So all in all, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more of it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Sir Roger. Okay, our second speaker is Lauren, our local police officer.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to speak here this evening. For those of you that I haven't met already, my name is PC Lauren Eyre Jackson, and I'm a local police officer for Sandwich and East Street. It's a privilege to serve this community, and I welcome the opportunity to update you on local policing matters, recent trends, and our ongoing engagement with the residents. So I'd like to begin by giving you an overview of the figures for antisocial behaviour and crime over the last financial year. So when comparing the most recent financial year to the previous, we've seen a bit of a mixed results, but an important picture for us. So reports of antisocial behaviour have increased by 14%. That's from 86 incidents last year to 98 incidents this year. So over the last year, the top 3 reported types of antisocial behaviour in Sandwich have been rowdy or nuisance gatherings in public or behaviour impeding public access, nuisance caused by motor vehicles on roads, including noise, and drunken or rowdy behaviour. So while that increase could be considered concerning, that rise also reflects the importance of reporting and engagement from the residents. So it shows that you're willing to let us know and our partners when some concerns arise, and I'm very thankful for that, because it allows us to have an insight into the issues that are occurring and allows us to be more effective in our response. So I know that from the beginning of the year, I had a meeting with the Mayor around some antisocial behaviour that started at the beginning of the year, and that was around youths knocking on doors, and that developed into going into the town. I made sure that I went round and spoke to all of those residents that reported issues to us. I also carried out letter drops within the roads that were affected, and I spent a considerable time liaising with the local schools, and also patrolling in the town around the times that residents reported to me there was issues. It resulted in assistance from the colleagues in Child Centre Policing helping me, but between us we issued around 10, I believe it's 10, and acceptable behaviour agreements to the children that I was able to identify as being involved in that antisocial behaviour. And it took some time, but as the groups changed, unfortunately. But once those ABAs were issued to the children that I gave them to, they did stop their behaviour and they have stopped coming into the town. Over the last couple of weeks, there has been a reduction in those reports, which I'm very pleased about. In some positive news, records for criminal offences reduced over the last financial year by 12.4%. So that's 490 offences last financial year to 429 this year. So over the last year, the top 3 reported types of crime in Sandwich have been violence against a person, criminal damage and arson, and theft and shopliftings. So those crime types are very similar across all of the areas within the Dover district. However, the number of recorded incidents in Sandwich is notably lower than other areas. A particular incident of note that's happened recently, a good piece of work, was there was a motorbike that was stolen from the Guildhall car park on an evening in February, and through inquiries that we conducted, the next day that motorbike was spotted being ridden around in Aylsham. Officers and colleagues within my department were quickly deployed to that location, and 2 persons were arrested, and the bike was located. As a result of that, the 2 persons were charged with 7 offences between the 2 of them, and they were remanded by police to court the next day. And at court, they received community orders. One of them received community orders. They were ordered to do unpaid work for a particular number of hours, and they were also given fines to pay as well. The other person that was arrested, unfortunately due to their conduct, they were remanded to prison. So a good piece of work, and shows that the connections and the communication between the residents and the police resulted in a positive outcome, with 2 persons being in custody and property being returned to the rightful owner. I'd like to acknowledge that reducing crime in Sandwich is not achieved by policing alone, but through the collective effort of the police, our partners and the community. As the beat officer, my focus is to maintain a visible presence and identify issues early, working proactively to make sure that they don't escalate. This includes targeting patrols in key areas, responding to community concerns, and also working with both the Dover District Council, Sandwich Town Council, as well as local businesses and other support services. It's just as important as well that residents the residents that are here, because they play a vital role as well by reporting concerns and working with us. By working together helps us all to ensure that Sandwich remains a safe and welcoming place to live, visit and work. So just touching on the importance of that partnership working, It leads me to talk about My Community Voice. I'm sure some of you may have already heard of it before, but for those of you that haven't, it is a digital engagement tool used by Kent Police. It allows us to share their views, priorities and concerns directly with local officers. It enables us to understand what matters most to the people that we are serving, rather than just relying on those crime statistics. And those insights help us shape the patrol plans, problem-solving initiatives and partnership activity within Sandwich. So over every 3 months, we release surveys on My Community Voice, and we ask questions about the local issues, the concerns, and the areas where you would like policing to improve, or what you would like our focuses to be. I would strongly encourage all of the residents to take part in those surveys, because it directly informs the work that I'm doing and the work that my colleagues are doing. And once those surveys have closed for those 3 months, all the updates and outcomes are published on the Kent Police website. It allows us to be transparent and allows residents to see how their feedback is directly used to address those concerns and deliver solutions. And that's everything, but just in closing, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who has been so welcoming. I've been in post now for 2.5 years, and I'd like to say that everybody has been lovely to me when I'm on foot patrolling the town. People are frequently coming up to me and talking to me, and I really appreciate that, and the work that you do to support me as well. So I do thank you for that. I'd like to reassure you that I'm always here and always available to discuss any local issues, and I look forward to the coming year and protecting and serving the Sandwich community.
Thank you, Lauren. So our last guest speaker is also one of our 2 district councillors. So could I invite Councillor Mark Morehouse to give us a short update of what's
Thank you, Mr.
involved in?
Again, I haven't got a script, so I'm speaking from the heart. I'll give you a little bit of a brief introduction about myself. I have lived in Sandwich my whole life, almost. I did live in East Surrey for about 2.5 years. If you look out the window here, you see the cattle market car park, which was a cattle market. My grandfather started a business back in the 1930s in which he brought cattle to the cattle market, livestock to the cattle market. And my mother was born in Sandwich a little over 100 years ago. So I'm very privileged to work with a group of councillors, some of whom know Sandwich, some of whom lived in Sandwich for many years, some of whom moved here very recently. And every one of them offers some expertise to the town and gives you all a great service as councillors. I was elected to Sandwich Town Council back in 2007. Prior to that, I was very briefly working on one of the events with Georgina Mannix, who we've spoken about this evening, as a volunteer on the Sandwich Festival Committee. And that's how I first got involved in public life, as it were, in Sandwich. I left Sandwich Town Council in 2019 because I wasn't living in Sandwich at the time. And then circumstances brought me back here 6 years ago, and a by-election took place in 2022, and I rejoined Sandwich Town Council as an independent. And then just shy of 3 years ago, I became the first independent Dover District Councillor since the 1983 to 1987 term of office. So Sandwich is in my heart. I attended almost every full Sandwich Town Council meeting since the election in 2023. I believe I've only missed about 3 of the 30 odd that we've had since then. And at every council meeting, I bring an update. And most specific, what that specifically means is, being an independent, I am not tied into voting on a party political whip. So I can present an argument or join an argument at Sandwich Town Council and say that I'm against something, And when I go to Dover District Council and there's an opportunity to vote on that proposal again, I'm not bound by a political party to vote for when I voted at Sandwich Town Council against. So there's no conflict of interest. The things I've been working on predominantly on for 3 years now is the perennial irritation of number 57 New Street. And it's disappointing that no course of action can be taken on this because it would involve a compulsory purchase order, which Dover District Council cannot afford to do. And unfortunately, there is at the moment no present plan to impose any kind of compulsory action against the owner to do something about that property. One thing that is astonishing, good that we've got the MP here today to hear this, there is no law in this country that invokes anybody to keep their property to a reasonable standard. I think that's quite a remiss of a country of our size and our significance that we don't have that kind of law in place. I don't think I've got anything more to say apart from that. If anyone's got any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moorhouse. On that last point about lines, which the town team have also been campaigning on for as long as I've been involved, and it's very frustrating, as you said. I happened to read an article in the Times this morning about a property in Chelsea, where, as a result of a coordinated batch of complaints by neighbours, I think it was a Section 213 order has been served on the owner to clean it up, because in that case it was infested, it had not a Japanese knotweed and so on. I don't know whether this is something that we can apply here, but I just draw that to your attention in case it's a tool in the toolbox that we haven't yet used.
One of the tools that we are exploring, and I have asked for an update on this, is that Historic England has an at-risk register, and I've asked about the status of that building on that at-risk register. So I'll be delighted to hear a little bit more from you on this Section 213, and hopefully, possibly, I'm going to stress the word possibly, we may be able to do something in the year that remains that Dover District Council will be in existence before we go to unitary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. So, moving on to funding. So Georgina Maddox and her fund has been mentioned a number of times this evening. So her fund that the Town Council are acting as trustee on, one of the funding priorities is to improve the mental and physical well-being of Sandwich residents by increasing participation in amateur sports and healthy living recreation. So therefore, using that priority, I've invited two guests to speak tonight exactly about amateur sports. I've got a representative from the Sandwich Town Cricket Club and also from Sandwich Lawn Tennis Club. They both received grants in the first round of grant awards, and I've invited the representatives just to give us some words about the project that they're undertaking that has benefited from the awards given. So can I first of all invite Graham Connor to come up? And that's from the Lawn Tennis. Thank you, Graham.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I'm not used to public speaking, so we'll see how I get on. The Sandwich Lawn Tennis Club is badly named because we haven't had lawn tennis for a long time, but that may be a change in the future. The club, like many clubs in the country, is seen as a slight decline in the number of people playing tennis. So we decided that we needed to be looking forward and looking to the future, both in terms of the number of people that we could get to be involved in sport and the finances for the long-term survival of the club. So what we did was we looked around to see what we could do. We've got a fairly restricted space in where we are down in Sandown Road, but we worked out that by giving up one tennis court, we could build 2 paddle courts and a pickleball court. And so the proposal is to bring 2 new sports to the town. And I do say to the town because although we're a members club at the moment, I hate people to think that that's off-putting. We really want to welcome everybody, and it's not an expensive sport. And you know, we'd love people to come along and have a go, especially when we build the paddle courts, because paddle is the fastest growing sport in the world, I'm told, and the UK is quickly catching up. It has been suggested that paddle be included in the next Olympics, so it's that sort of popularity. It's very popular because it's much less technical and energetic than tennis, which is my love. It's a brilliant, brilliant game. But it's played on a much smaller court. If you don't know, it's got glass walls and it's a bit like a cross between tennis and squash. And it's much, much easier to play. You know, if you want to play tennis, you've probably got to come along and have a few lessons and learn the techniques. But you can play on the paddle court almost within 15, 20 minutes. The courts are much smaller. It's always played in fours, and you don't have to run so much. But it's still energetic, and I would encourage everybody to have a go when we get the courts built. It's going to be a fantastic facility for the town. And again, I emphasise for the town because what we're hoping to do, planning to do, is to have lots of free sessions to get people involved and to involve the local communities, especially the schools, and to invite them all along. And you know, in our quieter times, we'll be able to open it up for groups to come along and have a go. And it's energetic, but it's not, you know, you don't have to be terribly fit or anything like you feel you might need to for tennis. So that's the plan. I can't talk much about pickleball. It's a slightly different version of either of those, and very popular in some places. And so we hope that will take off as well. We aim to reduce the barriers that sometimes are perceived for people to come along and play. I mean, I hope you all know where the tennis club is. I spoke to somebody in the town the other day and they didn't know we existed. And we're slightly on the edge of the town, but you know, do come down and see what's going on, especially once the paddle courts are built. Now, I say when they're built, we're madly fundraising, and last week we got the go-ahead from the LTA, the Lawn Tennis Association. They're giving us just about half of the money, not giving, unfortunately. They're loaning us half the money, and we raised money from a number of other grant-making bodies, and we're waiting for the last 20 to 30,000 so that we can go ahead. But we should get the answer to 20,000 of that in the next week, and then it'll be all systems go. So then we need to get the builders in, build the courts, and we hope to get that done in the next 2 or 3 months so we catch the summer and get, because it's vital that we get the busy period, because we've got to pay these loans back. So I'll be going around with a hat in a minute. Now, you might not know that the LTA, the Lawn Tennis Association, is the governing body for tennis, which is now the governing body for paddle as well. So their backing of our plans is absolutely wonderful. Talking about the funding, it's really wonderful that we got the grant from the Georgina Maddox Fund. That sort of fills in one of the gaps in our total that we need, and we're delighted to receive that, so thank you for that. So really, all I can say is that if we can finally get over the last hurdle in the next few weeks, then we'll get building, and I invite you all to come. There'll be lots of publicity about when it is. You all come along and have a go on the day. There's 3 sports to play, and I think it'll be great fun. And I think it's a really good addition to the town for sporting activity and exercise, and it's just fun. So, all those things.
Thank you. Right, and the second project that benefited from a grant is the Sandwich Town Cricket Club's project, and Tony Kerwin.
Well, first of all, Mayor, councillors, thank you very much for inviting me to speak. Oh, I dropped my name. For inviting me to speak this evening about Sandwich Town Cricket Club and the funding. Now, we were founded in 1823, and just to borrow King Charles's talk to Congress recently, I understand completely in sandwich terms, that's the other day. Cricket was first placed at the Butts in 1938, so we have a long-standing history with this community. I personally have played for the club for 45 years. I shouldn't be still playing, but I thoroughly enjoy it. We have 4 Saturday teams, 2 Sunday teams, 1 midweek team, 1 ladies team, and a walking cricket. And I'll come back to the theme I'm trying to put through on the whole of this shortly, because it's about health. We're talking about health, mental health, and everything else, and how important it is to have activity for all ages. And walking cricket, actually, people who watch me say I play walking cricket, but actually, the whole point of walking cricket is it can get those who are not so mobile involved in the sport, and that's really important. We've just started that this year, and it's county-wide, and there's training quite regularly on a regular basis at the Butts. On the juniors, we have over 120 juniors registered with the club. We have under 11 teams, under 13 teams, I say teams across the board, under 15 teams, 2 girls teams. Now, this is a pathway, because what we're doing is providing a pathway from youth with the girls teams, into the ladies teams, for young lads, into the men's teams, to senior cricket. And some of the teams we have, you have on some of the friendly teams, we have a 13 or 14-year-old playing, and someone, an old fool like me, trying to help out. And the point is, it's a community sport. Now, I'm going to use this word pathway on purpose, because it's not just a pathway for cricket development, it's a pathway, I believe, all team sport is. Tennis, all sport activity, or team activity, it might be music, drama, or whatever, but all team activity is a pathway of life. Because we've seen youngsters join us who are really struggling with things, and they give team sport, gives them a purpose. And that's a fantastic thing. And schools are struggling. Schools are struggling financially, they're struggling in many ways to provide what schools historically used to do. That's not a criticism of schools in any way. It's just the way things are going. And clubs like ours, and there are many examples of clubs around the county, can provide that pathway for youngsters to go all the way through, not maybe just being good at cricket, but it helps them in life. I've seen youngsters that really struggle, and the confidence that sport can give them helps them their entire development. And it's so important, and I passionately, as I hope you can tell, passionately believe in that. Now, we have training nights from Mondays through to Thursdays, so the grounds are used on a continual basis. Now, we need nets, because you need to train and practice. And our nets we've got are getting past it. We've refurbished them a number of times, and they've now got to a position where they're okay, they're usable, they're safe. But if we're going to develop as a club, as a force for the area, we need to change. we need to invest in new nets. And what the Georgina Maddox Fund has done is enabled us to start that process, because nets are ridiculously expensive nowadays, because you've got to have, the whole area's now got to be enclosed for putting modern nets up. We're going up to 3 nets because the usage is, as I said, Monday to Thursday, usage is incredible. And what we're doing is having a process of hopefully in 2 to 3 years of having state-of-the-art nets out there. Other clubs have got it, like Chesfield, Nonnington's done some fundraising, there's match funding and all sorts of things out there. We all know about fundraising, but it's never that simple. The Georgina Maddox Fund has started the process, because we got into planning, and we got planning consent, and we started the whole way forward. There are no grants in cricket clubs, by the way, for running costs. So we have to make sure all our running costs, and the cost of running grounds and everything is not insignificant. We do get a grant from Dover District Council, but we run the whole of Gazon and the whole of the butts. We are responsible as a club to actually look after the whole area, just about all of the butts and virtually all of Gazon. So that's down to us. And I hope that's a facility for the whole town enjoys. I mean, I know I walk my dog around there and meet many people who enjoy the area. It's a beautiful place, Sandwich, isn't it? It's a privilege to be part of this community. It really is. Having went to school here, having gone to, having run a farm near here, my wife was born here, went to school just behind me, behind where we now live. I just moved to Sandwich. And it's a joy compared to living where I used to live before, and that was very nice too. Now, where do we go? There's several things we want to do. I'm inviting everyone to come and watch us play cricket. Maybe some of you want to laugh, I don't know. But come with us and watch us play cricket, because we have developed people, youngsters, to go all the way to play for England. A chap called Jordan Cox came to us, a chap called Ryan Davis, who went to the local schools, went to the local primary school and the local Sandwich Tech School, and he actually went to represent Kent and Somerset over the years. So we had a lady called Tammy Beaumont. Tammy Beaumont came through our entire cricket process, and then played for England, and then got the OBE for being a World Cup winner. But it's also not just about people being elite, it's about helping the whole. So our fourth 11, there's some members in there who are never going to be that good, but it gives them a sense of community and a sense of sport. And we're working out across every demographic that we can. People think cricket is elitist. I promise you, come down, we're from all backgrounds, from all areas. And that is the joy of the sport. And I welcome you down, come down on a Monday night and see the whole of the butts surrounded, covered with children playing cricket. And we've got the butts. And actually we haven't got enough facilities, so our under-15s on a Monday night train at the Tech. And so one of the problems we have got is we probably don't communicate well enough. Completely, someone said, I don't know where the cricket club is in Sandwich. So what we've got to do is I'm inviting town councillors, I'm inviting other sports clubs. How do we help each other? How do we communicate? How do we tell people what's going on? Because probably all of us put a light under a bushel of it. So how do we do that? I'm looking for any ideas, any suggestions how we can let people know what's going on. All suggestions welcome. And come down on a Saturday, come down on a Monday and have a drink with us, because you'll be extremely welcome. And the Georgina Maddox Fund, I will just finish by saying, yeah, it's helped us on the way to the next phase of what we do. Thank you.
Yeah, can I just say, I deliberately chose Tony and Graham to speak regards to the fund, because I think the important thing is what the Maddox Fund has allowed us to do as a council, as trustees, is basically reset, because the Tollbridge Fund, to me, had got sort of in a cycle of the same applicants each year looking for grants. What we've seen under the Maddox Fund is quite a diverse range of applicants. It's been really refreshing to see new organisations coming forward to seek help and support, and that's made the experience, which is quite laborious when you're having to assess a lot of applications with a lot of paperwork, it's made it more rewarding, I think, to me personally. I hope other councillors feel that as well. So thank you to all the guest speakers. I'll put my hand up and say, obviously down to my time management, we've sort of compressed to a shorter time span for the questions, so I apologise for that. but I expect everybody's really happy about their town, and there's not many questions that they want to raise, I hope. I'll invite Councillor Marie at the end who wants to talk about this weekend, but first, any questions? That works. Sorry, could you speak?
There's some comments about the council and the two funds were very intertwined, but then you said that you wanted to try and address that.
Yes.
Then you mentioned that the councils are also all trustees.
Yes.
So what sort of change or process are you going through to try and prevent that?
So you can either get a very poor answer from me, or Councillor Green probably can give a very good answer, because Councillor Green has made it really his passion to try and bring us as a group to look at this, and it does need to be looked at, and we all recognise that, but it's not an easy challenge. So do you want to spend just a minute?
Yeah, just kind of very quickly, there's two things. First up, in terms of the Georgina Maddox, we made an application for charity status, but the Charity Commission like applications that have got a single focus, looking after tired donkeys like me. But when you're applying, and there's over 50 different organisations in the town, the Charity Commission have kind of struggled with our application, but we hope in the next few weeks to get confirmation. And what we want to do is we want to safeguard the Georgina Maddox Fund by making it totally independent as far as possible from the town council. So we want to have an independent clerk. The town staff here are already really busy and have struggled to find the time and the capacity to be able to deal with. So we want to have it completely separate, and the council have agreed that we should have a separate website, a separate clerk, a separate set of accounts and so forth to protect it. So that's what we're doing with the Georgina Maddox. With the Tollbridge Fund, we're part way through, and we've started a review to look at the relationship between the charity and the council, and to see how we can work more efficiently. I was saying earlier, we're shuffling around so much money, you know, and officers are spending time, councillors are having to approve it. We've got different bank accounts and so forth. How can we work smarter and better? And so we're looking at that, and hopefully by this time next year, we'll be able to give a report on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Carol?
May I just ask, because another issue that has stayed on the town team's agenda for several years now is the issue of the forecourt and the bus shelter. I'll try to not say anything about the bus stop, because that is a massive contentious issue, which I know the council have attempted on many occasions to address. But the forecourt itself, the original plan had extra seating. It also had a bus shelter that was fit for purpose. Mm-hmm. We don't have a bus shelter that is fit for purpose, and we already know that Sandwich has quite an elderly population, and in the winter and even in the summer, you see people standing around by the bus shelter or sitting on the seats or trying to find a place where they can shelter properly. Obviously more prominent in the winter. The bus shelter, as I understand it, was part of the original forecourt plan. Mm-hmm. I know those plans changed because we ran out, not you, but DDC ran out of money. And I know that you have been asking for some time now whether there is any spare money at DDC, what the money was that was left over, how much it was, if there was any at all, and we're not getting it. Well, I know you're not getting it. Now, this is not criticism of Sandwich Town Council. This is an issue that I think Dover District Council needs to stand up and take responsibility for. The bus shelter is not the shelter that was in an original plan. It isn't even the shelter that was in the final plan. It should have sides, it should have had more seating, and actually it should have had some etching on the back. But the most important thing is it should be protecting people who are waiting for the bus. And I'd like to think that this council would continue their progress, if they're making any at all, with Dover District Council, who are not even responding, as I understand it, to the queries that you are raising. And I think it's an appalling state of affairs when we'll go through yet another winter with people not having shelter from a bus stop, which is actually very, very well used, whether it's people going to their villages or to their homes, local people because they're elderly and can't walk that far, or whether it's some of the children that come in and go to some of our villages, and the elderly people who come in. We want the town to be vibrant, we want more business in our town, but actually we're relying on getting people in and out of the town, and that bus shelter, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people, is not fit for purpose. And I'd like to see Dover District Council coming back to us and telling us what it is they are going to do about it.
Okay, so thank you. You're a member of Heritage and Townscapes. You know this issue hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
We have got a chair here, but it will continue to be within the scope of that committee to see what it can do. Attempts were made to get the relevant officer here this evening who could have made it clear about the passage of time and the changes to the project itself. All I would say is we haven't budgeted for any improvements for the shelter in this financial year, but it's now our responsibility for that shelter for the future. So it's something that if we're going to have to consume our own smoke, we'll have to look at that for the next financial year. But if you continue as a representative on that committee, you can keep on raising it and we will continue to discuss it and we will do what we can with Dover districts. But it has to be a two-way relationship.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we haven't got that.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just
Yes.
suggest, I don't know if you've organised a petition, but petitions are extremely powerful ways of getting things done. And I've organised some in the past and they've worked really well. And I don't know if you have, but a strong, large petition properly done can be very effective.
Thank you, Peter. It was suggested at one of the township meetings by the deputy leader of Kent County Council, who said he would come back again to us with some information. There was another angle to that too, and since when we've heard nothing.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
It's not really a question, Emma, it's more an information. About a month ago, I launched a new website for the town, sandwichkent.co.uk. The purpose is to promote the town, promote the shops, the businesses, but also have a strong focus on the clubs and societies, the smaller organisations that are there. It's also aimed to be sort of a one-stop hub for events. Anyone can add in events. It's free to use. It's a non-profit site. And I have an initiative about a We Love Sandwich sticker that goes into shop windows, pubs and so on. If anyone wants to know more, I'm here. Please.
Introduce your name as well, because I don't really say this at the start. Your name as well.
Sorry, my name is John Hubbard. I've been living in Sandwich for 7 years. I've also got a phobia about public speaking. And I love the town. So.
Thank you, John.
I had a question for PC Laura Jackson.
She's behind you.
Can you provide any update on the RTC that happened last Saturday morning at 6:30, in which an ancient wall was partially demolished?
No, I can't.
Short and sweet, thank you. Thank you. I don't see a burst of more questions, so what I would like to do, I think Councillor Marie Dean would would like to do a promotion for this coming weekend? Dean.
Okay, good evening everyone. This weekend marks the 800th anniversary of the first recorded mayor of Sandwich. So we have lots and lots of stuff to discuss what's happening the weekend. 8 centuries of civic leadership is something very few towns can lay claim to. It speaks not only to our rich heritage, but to our enjoying spirit of this community, spirit of pride, spirit of service and togetherness that continues to define Sandwich in its day. This weekend, we have the opportunity to celebrate that legacy in a way that brings our whole town together. Our commemorations start this Friday evening, the 1st of May, with the lighting of the town's beacon. Please, some people will be thankful to know it's not being lit by gas, it's actually being lit by natural wood and fire. It's a powerful and symbolic moment linking us to generations of past that marked great occasions in exactly the same way. I encourage as many of you as possible to come along and be part of that shared moment of reflection and celebration. Then Saturday, the big one. The 2nd of May, we come to the centrepiece of the weekend, our 800th anniversary parade, setting off from the quay. This will be a vibrant showcase of everything that makes Sandwich special, our organisations, our history, our people and our community spirit. It promises to be a fantastic spectacle and a proud moment for our town. We then conclude this weekend on the 3rd of May with a civic service at St Clement's Church at 10:30, led by Father Sebastian. This will be a time for reflection, gratitude and recognition of those who have served our town, past and present. Events like these don't just happen, they are a result of dedication, planning and tireless efforts of volunteers, council staff and community groups. And my sincere thanks go to everyone who has played a part in bringing this important anniversary to life. But most importantly this weekend, it's not about you, it's about the people of Sandwich, it's all about you. It's about the people of Sandwich, and I hate doing speeches. That's why I've been heads down the last hour. It is your participation and your enthusiasm and your pride in our town that make these celebrations truly memorable. So I encourage everybody to come along and get involved, support the event, and help us make history as we celebrate 100 years of mayoralty of Sandwich. Can I just say that these are the brochures and souvenir programmes created by the team that organised it and thankfully put together by Councillor Mallett. They're all around the town piece, but we have left some out for you guys as well to take. These will be around the town, so if anyone wants to have one. Apart from that, if we do require some people to help with some marshalling, so if you want to help, please come see me after. That's the scary thing. But we are expecting about 300 people to be on the quay at any one time on Saturday to take part in the parade, so it's going to be a big one. I think it's the biggest one Sam's has seen. So thank you very much.
Just hit 8:30. I think you probably all agree with leaving this building and going elsewhere. But before we finish, I'd just like to go back to what's happening this weekend. There are other events also, if you look at the back. But from my perspective, what started out as a conversation with 2 or 3 councillors, we all thought it would be a good idea to mark what is a historic moment. What's happened is it's sort of been hijacked, I think, by the community. And what's great to see is from the infant school to age concern, how everybody's getting involved in this. Only today we took delivery of a 800 patch blanket that Age Concern had, their knitting group had done. Earlier this week we took 59 painted in a certain blue paint style from the infant school of images of mayors, including myself. Suddenly I've got chiselled jaw. I don't know where that came from. But it's brilliant to see how active the community is around this. And at the end of it, it's not about just a pageant, and there will be a pageant, and there will be dignitaries there, but it's about the community. And just as sparkling as seeing the Lord Warden, the St. Paul's in his uniform at the front, it'd be just as great to see the midlife movers towards the back in, I understand, 70s disco gear. So Saturday should be great.
The weather doesn't look too bad at all, so if you've got time, from 1 o'clock on the quay through the town until about 1:45, 2 o'clock, it will be a noisy affair. Thank you, and thank you everyone for coming this evening.
It's fantastic. Next year.
Just to say, the town team, the heritage committee, it's not going to come in here and I do that. Things done. So we did this guy. So all that happens is we could do a petition. She would do it. And I'm actually when they do they have to hold the right yeah. And I said to you, and he's sleeping at the top. And Christmas to me, he's just to stay. And he said, that's so that was in January. 2.5 weeks later, I went in and said, I want a flight. And Alex, he got me with him the next day, and Richard walked in, and he saw Richard a year ago, and he said to Richard, you can die, because he thought he was doing it for his lady. I said, no, you can't do it.
he listened to his back page to grow another done. He said, oh, I think you might have pneumonia. And I said, it's not pneumonia, Richard's had pneumonia. And he said to me, right, he said, well,